I saw the notification on my phone and stared at it longer than I should have, as if hesitation could somehow rewrite the words. No room for you. They weren't cruel words exactly, just a quiet, almost casual dismissal, but they carried years of the same pattern, the invisible thread of being less than, that wove through every family interaction. Mom's heart emoji followed quickly, almost automatically, like a reflex, and then the caveat, but you'll still come to cook. Right. I didn't reply, didn't need to. My silence carried more weight than anything I could type, though in that moment it felt as if it barely existed. My younger brother's excitement buzzed somewhere across the screen, and I pictured him at the center of a room that wouldn't have me. And yet, in the quiet of the apartment, I felt the familiar twinge of strategy, restraint, observation, patience. I went into the kitchen, though I had no desire to cook for anyone. Pots and pans gleamed under the fluorescent light. My mind wandered back to birthdays past, the ones I'd spent setting up, arranging, smoothing over, while my efforts dissolved into background noise. I remembered being ignored at family dinners, my contributions unacknowledged, and yet somehow expected to keep functioning, performing the invisible labor of care. I felt that old hollow knot in my chest. And yet this time, I didn't want to react with anger. I wanted to be present in a way that was mine, unmediated by anyone else's perception. I picked up the knives and chopping board and started preparing. I decided quietly this year I would be seen, just not on their terms. Hours passed in a rhythm of measured movements. I diced vegetables, stirred sauces, adjusted seasoning. Occasionally, I heard my brother's friends laughing upstairs, and Mom calling instructions, reminders, little bursts of authority that always expected me to conform. Normally, those voices would irritate me, but today they served a different purpose. They reminded me that I could choose how to participate. When the party began, I moved almost invisibly at first, arranging platters, timing dishes, checking on things no one would notice unless something went wrong. And then it happened, a small moment that made everyone pause. One of the dishes I had prepared, quietly set on the buffet, received a spontaneous compliment from my aunt. She lingered for a second longer than expected, acknowledging the precision, the flavor, the thought behind it. My brother glanced at me from across the room, and for a brief, silent heartbeat, I saw that shift, the subtle recognition that I mattered here, even if they had tried to exclude me. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just returned to my tasks, moving through the kitchen with calm purpose. The party hummed around me, but I felt a quiet satisfaction that had nothing to do with approval and everything to do with competence and self-possession. I had been dismissed, yes, but I had also claimed a space that was undeniably mine. Later, when the guests began to leave, my brother came into the kitchen, slightly breathless and sweaty from running after his friends. He opened his mouth, probably to make some boastful comment, and then closed it again when he noticed me. I said nothing. The air held the unspoken truth. I had been here, I had contributed, and I had not been diminished by his exclusion. That simple presence carried more weight than any argument or confrontation could have. Mom's earlier comment, the one about cooking, now felt layered differently. It was no longer a reminder of obligation, but a recognition that my participation mattered and that I could choose the terms of my engagement. My dignity didn't hinge on anyone's claps or applause. It existed in the careful, deliberate way I moved through the space, quietly holding my own authority. By the end of the night, the room was empty except for the echoes of laughter and the faint smell of roasted vegetables. I stood alone, wiping down counters, tasting sauces, and checking the oven one last time. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small. The birthday had passed, my brother's exclusion had passed, and yet something vital remained, a quiet sense of self-worth, undeniable and unspoken, that no message in a family group chat could erase. I left the kitchen when the last plate was cleared, stepping into the night air with a slow, steady breath. My presence had been quiet, restrained, almost invisible, but the authority I carried had shifted, just slightly, in a way that mattered. and it would matter again in ways they couldn't ignore. I didn't need to text back. I didn't need to make a scene. I just existed, and that was enough.